Okay, it's time for children's story. Who wants to come up? Any more kids coming up? Well, I'm going to try something here. I want to try a magic trick. I hadn't done this in a long time, so you're going to have to kind of help me with it a little bit. Why don't y'all come right here? Hi, Topher. Come on, Tyler. Come right here. Now, I want you to watch. I'm going to try to make this disappear. You got to come in here really close and watch, okay? And I want to try to make this disappear. If you see how I do it, be quiet. If you see how I do it, be quiet, okay? Because I want to see if they can catch it. So if you notice how I'm doing it, wait to see if everybody else can figure it out. Okay, you got to watch really close. I want to try to make this disappear. You think I can make this disappear? No. Make it disappear in my hand? You don't think so? You're going to watch really close now. Watch me close. I'm not? Okay. 1, 2, 3. It disappeared. Didn't it? You saw how I did that? You know? Did it disappear? It disappeared. Here, I got another one. You want to watch again? You're no help. That showed up. Okay, well, let's see if this one will disappear. Come here. Now watch really close. You got to watch close, because if you don't watch close, you'll miss it. You want to watch? You ready? Ready? 1, 2, 3. It's gone. It disappeared. No, that's the other one.
Right there.
Oh, there it is. I what? I threw it. Oh, okay. Now step back and watch. Okay? You want to watch it from back a little bit? See, I go 1, 2, 3. And it looked like it disappeared. Why couldn't you see it before? Yeah, why didn't you see that before? Why didn't you see it? Now watch real close again and watch me do it. 1, 2, 3. Now why didn't you see it that time? Because you were watching real close, weren't you? Huh? But Bailey saw it. Why did you see? Were you watching real close? You're tall enough to stand back and see a little bit. How about the rest of you? Did you see what happened? Why? Because you weren't right there real close. Because you know what? Sometimes we don't see God at work because we are so close and so involved in the things that are going on. And sometimes we got to take a little bit of time and step back. What's he into now? Well, he wants to play. So I want you to think about this and think about whenever we're having trouble seeing God, what do we need to do? In order to see what God's doing, what do we need to do? Step back. Very good, Bailey. Just step back a little bit and take a big look at the whole picture. And then we can kind of see what God's doing, can't we? Yeah. All right. Everybody ready for a piece of candy? That's really what you want. You don't care about the story, do you? Well, you can do those if you want. You can take one of them with you. Okay. I'm making some noise up here, aren't I? What? What, this right here? It says 26 seconds. Oh, do you want to know what that means? Oh, that means that every 26 seconds, a child in this world is sold into sexual slavery. That's what that means. Every 26 seconds, that's happening in this world. Justin Stetch came and spoke last Sunday night, and this is what he shared and talked about. And they are encouraging people to become aware and involved in how we can be a part of reaching out and helping these children. It happens here in the United States. There are 2 hubs that they talked about here in the United States that there is some of this going on. One is Toledo, The other is Oklahoma City, because a lot of roads come together, and this is where they bring children in and sell them in the United States. Huh? What's the other one? Oh, another 26 seconds. Another child just got sold into slavery in this world. This is happening to the children of this world, and we as adults are letting it happen. And so this is a way that people can get involved, and you'll hear more as we continue. Another one? As we continue on, we as a church, I think, are going to find ways of getting involved. I know there's a couple that have sponsored children that are in this situation. There's an organization that's helping them get out of it, that's working over in Asia. That's where a lot of this is very prevalent, is in Asia. So you'll continue to hear more. So should I do this so it don't bang as much now? Oh, you're done blurting? How many children by the end I'm preaching, though? I don't want to go there. Okay, we are continuing on Change Your World series. This is a series that I've been going through and been doing this past month. Little commercial on here. Do you notice the commercial at the bottom? Now even commercials. DVDs and printouts of the service available in the foyer. Complete copies of the slide presentation. All the slides, including all the pictures, are available online at the Google Groups site. So if you have internet access, you can go here and you can see those, and you can print them out yourself if you'd like, or just look at them. So they're available to you. So if you like the cartoons and you want them, see that, now you know where to go get them. We have been talking about the 7 powers. We've been going through each week and kind of hitting a different power each week, and we've talked about how they are kind of all connected together. So far, we've talked about the power of attention. What I focus on, I get more of. We talk about every moment there is good and bad in it. There's positive and negative in every moment. And it's what we choose to focus on. Helps to shape our attitude and our mind. And we learn to look for the good, or we learn to look for the bad. And we have to choose what we want to look for at every moment. The power of love is that what I offer others, I give to myself. What I give, love, joy, and peace, is what everyone is looking for in life. And as we give those to others, we also give them to ourselves. And it's a way that we build our self-worth by giving to others. The power of acceptance, this moment as it is, I can relax. God is in control. We're not. God has laid out the universe, and He's in control. Even though we want certain things to be a certain way, we have to learn to accept them for the way that it is. This week, we're going to talk about the power of perception. I think that this is the hardest one. Maybe it might not be for you. I don't know. But to me, this is the hardest thing. The power of perception. No one can make you angry without your permission. Now that is tough. That's tough. How many times have we heard things like this? Look at what you made me do. You are driving me nuts, right? Every parent probably has said that. You are making me so mad. As we get upset and angry, we project, you are doing this. You are controlling me. When we resort to these angry exclamations, we send a message that others are responsible for our upset. It's somebody else's fault that we are upset. Because people have done something that's irritated, that's bothered us, that is affecting us. They've made us mad, hadn't they? Hadn't they? Why are you shaking your head? You've read ahead, hadn't you, Sean? When you place someone in charge of your emotions, you place that person in charge of you. Think about this. When that person is in control of your emotions because they made you mad, they're in control of you, aren't they? You have just given them power over you. And you no longer have power. Whether it is a child, whether it is another adult, a brother or sister, a parent, child, a neighbor, a workmate, it doesn't matter. When that person is in control of your emotions, they are in control of you. We must be ready to own our own upset. We need to own it and recognize that that's our feelings. That's who we are and how we experience the moment. James 1:13 through 15 really helps us understand this a little bit. No one, when tempted, should say, I am being tempted by God. For God cannot be tempted by evil, and he himself tempts no one. But one is tempted by one's own desire. What's going on inside of us, by our own desire, what we want in that situation. We may want that situation to be different, and it's not. And then what do? We get upset. But one is tempted by one's own desire, being lured and enticed by it. Then when that desire is conceived, it gives birth to sin. And that sin, when it is fully grown, gives birth to death. Because we get mad, we get upset, and then we lash out. We attack, don't we? Okay, what if I showed up with a bouquet of flowers? What would you think? If I showed up to your house and I had a nice bouquet of flowers for you, what would you think?
Can I interrupt?
Not what we... Wait, that'll come. What would you think if I showed up? You might think that. You might think, oh, nice thing. What if I showed up the other day at your house with a couple of flowers for you? That would have been nice. Highly suspicious? You're a suspicious person. Well, of course, all of you would think that of me because I don't do those things. But if somebody did, you might think, well, that was a nice gesture. That was a nice thing. What if I brought flowers again the next day? What would you think? Something is up. Something's wrong. Something. Now what would you think, Sherry? Really bad if I showed up with flowers twice, right? That would be suspect, wouldn't it? Would you feel suspicious? Did the flowers or I make you happy or suspicious? Did the flowers or I do that? What did? Your thoughts created your emotions. What you perceived and your thoughts and your history created that moment. Created the way that you felt. Because to be honest with you, showing up with flowers can be, it's nothing. Okay, so somebody brings you a couple of flowers. So what? The next day, somebody brings you some flowers. So what? But because of your history and experience, then all of a sudden, what if you have been stalked or you had to deal with someone that did this and you became very uncomfortable? All of a sudden, it triggers those feelings and those emotions. Fortunately, Sherry's not had to worry about that because I've never brought you flowers, right? Well, every once in a while, very seldom. No. But we react out of our feelings and our thoughts and our emotions. Romans 7:8 helps us understand this. But sin, seizing an opportunity in the commandment, produces in me all kinds of covetousness. Inside of me, it gets produced. My feelings start creating in me my reactions. He continues on a little bit farther in chapter 7. For I do not do the good I want, but the evil that I do not want is what I do. Now, if I do what I do not want, it is no longer I that do it, but sin that dwells within me. Are we starting to see some of what triggers our reactions and our emotions and our anger and how we react to every moment? It's what's going on inside of us. And Jesus tells us here in Matthew 13:13, the reason I speak to them in parables is that seeing they do not perceive, and hearing they do not listen, nor do they understand. Every moment we have things that come to us. And it's really easy for us to not to be able to perceive the reality of the situation. We look at things through our own distorted lens. Our lens of our history, of what we expect to happen at that moment. They, again, a lot of this is tied into new studies that they have found. They have realized that our brain takes time to work and react. It takes time for the senses to be able to be perceived, and it takes sometimes milliseconds and like several parts of a second for the eyes to go in, for the image, for the eyes to go in, get processed, get up to our brain and get figured out what it is, and then tell us what's going on. We actually experience the past because we are a few microseconds behind what is really going on. Now, how do we know to duck out of the way when a ball is coming? Because what our mind is doing is creating that moment up into the present. It is actually creating its own idea of what is supposed to be happening. Because our senses, all the information going in, takes a while for all that to process. So our mind creates an illusion of the present. It's shaping what it thinks is supposed to happen at the present. And when it doesn't happen, our mind struggles because it's contra to what our mind wants it to be. This is where we call it delusional or rationalizing. There's a lot of different words about it. But basically, our mind shapes what we think is going to be at that present time. And it's not always that way. And we struggle and we fight against what's going on. Are those lines straight or uneven, the horizontal lines? They look uneven though, don't they? Why? Because what are we perceiving? Because of the way all those bars are, these lines look like they are kind of crooked. What do you see here? Do you see a woman's face or do you see a man playing the saxophone? What do you see? Both. There's kind of both in that image, isn't it? What about here? What do you see? What's that? Who sees a young woman? Who sees an old lady? Can you see the old lady? Here's her nose, and here's her chin, and here's her mouth, and here's her eye. Can you see that? Or it's the young lady, her head's turned, and here's her chin right here, and here's her ear. Seeing, but we don't always perceive the reality of life. It's so easy for us to not be able to perceive the reality of things. You see this? Here's a street where there's a waterfall in the middle of it. Here's a big Coke bottle. You see that? Isn't that? Look at this street. It's fallen and I don't know what's underneath of there. Here's a car, and look at this little guy on top of it, and this smaller guy way up here on top of the car. Now here's another street in the city that's fallen through, and there's water underneath of it. There's a globe, and look at the guy standing on top of the globe right there. Look at this guy. He's standing in midair. How is he doing that? Look at this. He's holding up the world and she's on it. All of these are optical illusions. These are chalk drawings that people do in the city on the sidewalks. They draw these things, and it's miraculous. If you look on and see all these different images, just search the internet for chalk sidewalk art. And you will see just unbelievable images that people have drawn out there and shaped. And they're all optical illusions. Our mind tries to make us see something different than what really is. This is a solid sidewalk here, and he's just drawing these in there. It makes it look like it's the side of a glacier. Perceive. How we perceive things affects how we react. It affects our reaction. Each of us carries around an image of how we think the world should work. We all carry around an image of what we think should be going on and should be happening. What do you have expectations of what makes a good church? Do you? Well, you've got expectations of what makes a good church, right? Yeah? Do you have an ideal for a good marriage? What makes a good marriage? You've got an idea in your head what makes a good marriage, don't you? Can you picture what a good morning would be? Yeah, and a little bit of warmth, huh? We have ideas in our heads of what things, the way things should be. It's who we are as humans. doesn't make it we're wrong or evil. It's just the way we are. We see the world not as it is, but through a lens of our judgments about how we think it should be. How we think the world should be, we try really hard to see the world that way. And when the world is not that way, we actually fight against it. And a lot of times that's when we get angry, because it's not the way that we want. Because we're not perceiving it the way we want to perceive it. Okay, the world is really this way, but we want it to be this way. And so we're trying to constantly perceive the world in the way we want it to be. No wonder we get mad. We become upset because the world did not work as we thought it should. Didn't work the way we thought it should. We want it different, and we get mad, we get upset, we get frustrated. Upset is an inside job. We are never upset for the reason we think we are. Because to be honest with you, that experience that happened right then, if I'm sitting there and I'm standing there and all of a sudden I see something coming at me out of the corner of my eye, I perceive that, but why would I think that that's something that is going to hurt me? Because it's happened before. Because I saw something coming out of the corner of my eye and it was actually a truck tire. I was driving down the interstate in Dallas in a small cab truck, and all of a sudden this semi jackknifed on the other side, come up over the side rail, blew the side tire off, flew all the way across the highway, and it smashed right there in the side of the cab. I can still see that tire coming at me. Crash, hit right there. So every time I see something coming at me right there, I immediately react and think something is going to hit. Because I experienced that before. We react out of our history, out of our judgments, out of our experiences. And I get upset, not because what's coming at me might be a child that's just coming to give me a hug. I react, and I get upset because of what I have experienced. When we feel powerless, we're likely to blame someone else. Through blame, we try to make our others suffer for what they have done to us. When we feel powerless, we then start blaming others for us losing our power. Well, they made me do it. They took it away. Or you make me so angry. Because when you get angry, you lose power. You lose control, don't you? When you get really angry, it's a way of losing control of what is going on around us. And we immediately start blaming others for that happening. Our upset indicates that we have perceived the situation as an attack. This is what happens is that when we perceive a situation as an attack, when something does something and it's not the way we want it to be, we perceive it as an attack and we go into the fight, flight, or freeze mode, because that is a fear response. That's not just a normal response. That's a fear response. When our mind perceives that there is a threat or something is going to happen that can harm us, we react in one of these three ways. We either fight, we run, try to get away from it, or we freeze because our mind can't process and we just freeze. These are the three responses. When we get upset because it's not happening the way we want, a lot of times that's why we fight with others. Because it's not the way that we want it to be. Our perception is not reality, but we're fighting against that perception. And we'll fight against somebody that is making us see reality. We don't want to see it. Is there another way of seeing this person or event? Remember the images from the sidewalk art. Is there another way of perceiving each one of those? Well, yes, because it depends on how you look at it. Just like the children's story, how close you are to it, sometimes you can't see what's going on and see the whole picture. Sometimes you have to get away and step away a little bit, and you can perceive the reality of the situation. What has shaped the lens we are using to perceive the world around us? What shaped the lens that we use? You see this little kid here? He's got, I guess, his mother's glasses on, or maybe she's got her mother's glasses on. And to be honest with you, that's what shapes a lot of our perception, is what we have learned from our family, from our history, from those that have taught us and guided us, have taught us some of our perception of reality. What lens are we looking through? What lens should we be looking through to see the world? You see this as WWJD. Who remembers what that stands for? What would Jesus do? Shouldn't that be the lens that we're looking at the world through? Because if we're looking through the lens of Christ, Jesus helps us to see the positive and the good in people and in situations. Are we ready to own our feelings? You know, we could be like the monkeys. Hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. Some say have no fun. But what they are each doing is denying reality in their own way, aren't they? They're denying part of reality. And are we kind of in that mode? No one can make me angry without my permission. This is your little phrase this week. I think that's a blank. No, there it is. Here's a few more down here. No one can make me angry without my permission. Do you think that's true? Doesn't sound right, does it? No one can make me angry without my permission. Use this week. Put it in a place that you see it when you need to see it. The place that you get angry the easiest. Maybe that might be on my forehead for some of you. Right, Sherry? Is that where you need it? Put it on my forehead? And see how that works. Because you might realize that at the time that you might react in anger, you might see that and remember, wait a minute, they are not in control of me. This situation is not in control of me. I can be in control. And I can react and respond in a healthy, effective way. Is there another way of seeing this person or event? What do you see up here in this picture? A couple of older people sitting there talking, staring at each other, right? But if you step back and look, you see there's a girl in a doorway here. Here is a band, a guitar, and a guy with a sombrero on there playing it. And here's another person sitting here, a woman sitting next to him. You see that? Here's the part of the road, and here's just some things out on the road. And this is just a light in the road. Two different images there. Every situation that we run across, there's good and there's bad. And remember, what we focus on, we get more of. What we focus on, we get more of. So every event that happens, saying, how am I perceiving this? And can I perceive it a different way? Because again, what are we doing here? We're trying to train our brains to respond in a different way. In which way are we trying to train our brains to respond? In a worldly way or a Christ-like way? This is the goal. That we learn to train our minds and our brains to respond with Christ-like reactions and responses. That's what we're working on here. Again, if you want to change your world, you change what? You change yourself. and your world changes around you. Are you ready for joy? You ready for love? You ready for peace? Change